I don't know. I feel like I'm sometimes such a hermit. So not that there's any type of privacy at all, but I guess it's just the body sometimes is like a hermit. But it's like it's bizarre because I never heard about you, and then obviously it's always like by chance something popped up on YouTube, and I was not even looking because I was like scrolling through, just random, and then yeah, quite interesting. And suddenly I'm like, who's that? And I'm like, oh, let's connect. I don't know why, but like, you know how it is. It's always random. So wait, how old are you?
22.
Oh wow, really? I thought you younger. Oh, bless your heart, you look so much younger. I always looked a little bit older than my age, but I feel like recently I'm aging in reverse. This body tries to believe that, obviously. But no, it's good. It's good to look younger than your age, obviously. It will preserve you, longer.
Yeah. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yes, 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 always. But cool, yeah. How exciting. Like, I don't know, suddenly I had this interest to hear your journey because like obviously everyone has an apparent journey. And even if it's obviously a story, I mean, what else can we talk about than sharing stories? I mean, we can just also just sit and do nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's all, as you say, it's all just a story. So that's the sort of beauty in many ways, is just sharing stories. There's nothing sort of more special about talking about so-called non-duality than talking about going to the beach with the kids. Like, it's all just the same story.
Yeah, I mean, when I had the energetic feeling for it, let's put it that way, when it was purely energetic, because obviously it's not an understanding. Because I've been like, I think about 3 years going in and out. Hmm, not fun. I don't know how much you can relate because I don't know how the sort of the apparent process for you was. Maybe you can share about it just because of curiosity,
Yeah,
not
sure.
because there's any insight, just because I think it's sometimes it's cute to compare stories like, oh, that's my movie. Oh, that's my movie. How cool. You know what I mean? But I feel like because I had it for 3 years, I'm like, I'm over it. Obviously, I was over it already at the beginning, and then I guess like you said it before in some video, that the body is. I don't know. I guess because I'm 37, and I feel like maybe the body had more. I don't know if it's even age related, but sometimes I wonder if it's some sort of program that still needs to be like run through, on a cellular level. I felt like when it happened first, it was like 1 month, and I didn't even know about anything. No clue, never read a book about spirituality, nothing. And it just happened. Uh, and I had no idea. Like, and only 1 year later, when I came into some sort of spiritual groups by chance, obviously, because the body was suffering, um, I was like, they like, oh, this is what you had. And I was like, oh no. And that's where the mind started obviously more seeking because I had no idea what it was before, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and it's funny because the so-called awakening, you could say for the person at first perhaps feels very exciting and very in
yeah.
itself feels liberating for the person. It really feels like they're onto something and they found something, and that um they know something that others don't know. And actually
Yeah, it's the
in a,
opposite.
well, yeah, in a sense, it can heighten the sort of, it can make the person feel more special because it's like, well, I'm awake and you're not. So the awakening at first can seem like a really exciting thing, but actually it then can almost become a burden, because the individual then wants to chase it and constantly get it back, and actually it's then can get to the place where it's, well, I wish that didn't happen at all, which is really when the individual, you could say, starts to realize that that there's no room for them in this.
With the internet.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah. Wait, is it my connection? Let me double check. But let's see.
I think you're back now. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a little bit.
Yeah.
You could say that it's all exciting at first, and then the person starts to realize that actually this does mean their own death, apparently. So the excitement quickly turns to sort of fear, you could say, hopelessness, helplessness, those sorts of things. I mean, that's all a story.
No, so sorry. Something with the internet. I need to do something about my internet.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
I'm trying to put it now on 4G. Maybe it will be better. I'm sorry. It's just, nothing is worse if you're trying to have a normal conversation and then, the internet goes. Okay, now it's back. Yeah.
I don't know how much. Where did I cut off?
That it's actually quite a burden.
Yeah, so it can
sometimes
quickly, as you could say, it's very exciting at first, and then perhaps when the person realizes actually this is about their own death, apparently, it can then actually want to avoid that sort of further recognition or realization, you could say.
Yeah. It's funny, really, because like I didn't have because I had no clue, because I had no information beforehand. Thank God this happened for me, because clearly, something out there was aware that I would go bonkers on it. So it was like blindsiding. I mean, the first time it was such a blindside. Like I said, for a year I had no idea. And then natural things just unfolded as usual they do, but just on a different way. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Why do I have suddenly like new habits or new, stuff? Because the body clearly just went to a normal state where it's like gonna take care of itself, like the body just preserves and prevents or whatever it does. And I was like, straight, like to be honest, back then I didn't even question what happened. Like only when the person suddenly like was like hooked on a theme or on something, that's where actually, like you said, it's suddenly like became a burden, and then it became really like work. And I was like obviously energetically, that's why it's so hard to see through it, because like energetically you just literally completely have the veil on. Like you can't see. It's like if someone would say, this is in front of you, you're like, no, it's not. Because you literally, it's energetically impossible. And now I feel like it is a cosmic joke, because I feel like, because it's in and out now quite frequently. And I mean, it's definitely totally different if it's energetic. I feel like, yes, I spoke, I don't know if you know Andreas. Yes. So I spoke with Andreas, and he told me like, oh, but like later on it could be that it's a slow transition, like for him that was the case. He said he slowly died off, sort of. And I feel that sounds so funny.
Yeah.
But and I was like, okay, like obviously you can't help it anyway. And then there's still, even if resistance kicks in and sort of, you can't even do anything about that. And then you, like, I don't know, like, but it felt like if the system is hooked in again, you just can't change it, but play in the system again before it releases. That's,
yeah, there's no one sort of The thing is, there is no one going in and out, and it really feels like that, obviously, for the person. But the funny thing is that in the end, you could say it's sort of revealed that actually that meing and being never actually happened. You could say it was always just all being, appearing as apparent meing. But so yeah, this sort of in and out doesn't really happen. That's the funny thing. It is this already. And as you say, that sort of, that there's nothing that the person could do about that, because the person isn't a separate individual entity. The person is this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's really the meaning and being, because I feel like on a cellular level, the deepening of it's actually, because obviously, I mean, if we would go into the story, everything is a story. I mean, just us speaking, pretending that we're two would be already a story, you know? But how lovely talking source to source, heart to heart. It's nice. It's nice. But I still feel like I do feel like certain speakers neglect totally the body transition, and I feel the lack of empathy. And I'm not talking being compassionate, because I've done that road of devotional. Oh my God, it almost killed me. I wish it would. No, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it almost killed me because I went crazy on like, oh, I have to be the martyr, and like, or you know what I mean? Oh,
yes, yeah,
I
to love
mean,
yourself more, to yeah.
oh.
And that's the funny thing, there just is no one to love. There just is love. So
But the funny thing is, the mind will catch it in a, how do you say it? Because I'm not English, I'm German. How do you call it? Analytic? No, like,
yeah, like analyzes and
no, not just
analytical.
analyzes, nihilistic, like where
Oh,
it's
okay.
like
Yeah,
like when it's so negative, you know, in the negative, where
nihilism.
the nothingness becomes not nothingness of freedom, but nothingness of, oh my God, it's shit. You know what I mean? So that was also happening for a while, obviously, because when, and that's the thing, like, is it really meaning and being, or is it deepening? Because like when the body is more relaxed, then I feel like the the naturalness is happening, you know? And then it's like, of course there's no issue, and of course there's nothing to reach, right? But the body does get, I feel like it's a lack of empathy on in that sort of community on the body level.
Yeah, well, you could say after the apparent liberation, I mean, there isn't before and after, but for the sake of language, after the apparent liberation, or even you could say, I mean, it does seem that even for some so-called people, listening to this message can have a sort of relaxing effect on the body. But that
Yeah.
isn't really what this is about. But you could say after the apparent liberation, there seems to be a slow, I mean, it could be sudden, it could be more slow, no one knows, but there seems to be a fading and a relaxing, you could say, of the system, of the body, as it's just obvious that there's no one to protect anymore, and that it's not being traumatized, you could say, by the idea that there's someone in here to protect. But that's very natural. There's no one who has to relax because there's no one. There's just no one, so it just happens on its own. But you could say it's not important, so the body could stay stressed, it could relax, it doesn't really matter either way. It's not, it just doesn't matter. So you could say perhaps that's, I mean, there's no why, but it just isn't addressed because it's not really a thing in that sense. It could be a side effect, you could say, but it's not, yeah, it's not important. I mean, to the person, obviously, to have a sort of relaxed body that's, you know, open and free is sort of what would be wanted from liberation. And it may well happen, but there's no one benefiting from that relaxation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of a lose-lose situation, because either you're there and you're wanting the body to be relaxed, but you're there and the body's stressed, or you're not there and the body's relaxed. So
No, but that's exactly, yeah. Yeah.
the person wants to be there for the relaxation. But if there is this ultimate relaxation, you could say, which would be seeing through the me that doesn't exist, then no one's there to relax.
Yeah. I guess like I'm still holding on to the deep wish of like, because I feel like it's the love for creation itself, right? Like obviously we are creation, and we're like, I mean, of course, the ultimate unconditional love is not seeing a flaw in the creation. And that would be just unconditional love in the mind, obviously, not in the heart, right? It's sort of, I'm just storing away. But I do feel like there's still some sort of yearning of finding more balanced approach in this. I mean, even this whole concept of non-dual non-dual speakers and whatever, which is like madness on its own, right? Because like when the energetic shift is, you're like, hey, it's just so not different than anything else. Yeah. But then when you're hooked, when you're in the system, in the program, running the program, or whatever happens energetically, that's where you're still in the seeking mode, obviously, and that's where you still feel there is an interest, right? And I feel like there's a deep yearning to find out a universal solution for that, even if there's so clear no issue. But I mean, the bodies are not even real, but it's still weird that I want to help a body, even if I know the bodies are not real. It's still this inner urge, you know?
Well, you could say that that is the whole setup of the person, is this drive to find the ultimate answer, or the big answer. So you could say that perhaps even if it's seen by no one that the body isn't real, that nothing exists in that sense, the person will still find something in that to work out. So that, okay, well, none of this is real, this is all just a story, but there must be some universal answer, or there must be some reason why this is just a story, or this is unconditional love, but what's the reason why, or who's doing that? But that's the unconditional love. There is no reason or bigger truth. This is the ultimate, so there's nowhere else to look, and this isn't even anything. So it's not an ultimate, it's just this, and there's really no explanation. And it's stunning, because there's nothing, you can't explain this. Absolutely. There's no reason at all. So the words non-duality, the words nothing, everything, they're too much already.
Yeah. That's what, before. So when this happened to me, and then the body was doing its own thing, I felt so much more freer than when this whole like community and the hook of it started to bombard me, you know what I mean? Like, and of course, even that was just, you know, whatever was happening. But yeah, it's just fascinating that yeah, of course, you know, like on the bigger picture, I would be like, oh, I wish I would have never included myself in this community at all. And actually, this body stayed away quite a bit from, like, I saw people who just go from retreat to retreat. And I attended only one retreat, and that was Tony Parsons, and that's it. And even there, I felt very much like surrounded by lots of seekers, and it sounds so bad because obviously I'm a seeker myself, but I mean, it's just bizarre. But I felt like, oh my God, like it felt really, I don't know. I mean, it is a cosmic joke.
You could say, yeah, there isn't really a joke, because for itself, in that sense, it's not a joke. But
No.
you could say, when it's apparently seen, there could be laughter in that sense, yes, because it is funny in a sense, because the person wants to fall away and wants to die and wants to realize this. But the funny thing is, it's always been like this. So nothing actually happens at death. It's always been this. So that's the sort of laughter, you could say, is that nothing has to be realized. There doesn't have to be a shift. But the so-called glimpses kind of set up this whole expectation that the apparent liberation is going to be one, like, the almighty glimpse where everything just collapses.
To be honest, like, obviously, if I wouldn't have come back, if there wouldn't be a residue still hooking onto something, right? Because that's, I mean,
Well, yeah, you could, I mean, there are no questions. So you could say, in a sense, the asking of questions might happen there. It doesn't sort of, it doesn't prove there's a person, because there isn't a person.
no, yeah.
So it doesn't sort of, it doesn't really make sense to say that there's a residue and that's why you're coming back, because I can't really say there is a residue, because there isn't in the first place. You could say that there's something that seems to think that there needs to be an answer, but that's not like a real question and a real answer in that sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's nothing wrong with questions. Like, it doesn't prove that there's a person. No.
Yeah. No, obviously, because there's no one. Obviously.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
it is obvious. It's fascinating, and it is an entertainment. Otherwise, what else would we do, right? And I do feel like it's more, I don't know, that's just my observation for myself, that is more the body relaxed itself, like whatever happened, as less there was like as more openness, it was like open again to be just, let's say, normal, or like attend normal social sort of, because there's unconditionality. So like it doesn't matter if I do meditating or if I go and talk shit or whatever, what I mean? Because it doesn't
Exactly.
matter. But I do feel like, yes, that was the question, because I'm all about the body. Just that was in this case the journey, because the body was like messed up for a while, I guess. But that's just a personal body story. But the funny thing was, I guess that's why I'm like more interested to talk about the body, because the spirit, or like, even if there's no spirit, but oneness is whole all the time. So we don't need to fix oneness. But the body, it's whole for in oneness, but it could be more wholesome. What do you think?
No.
No.
I mean, the body is not in oneness. You could say the body is oneness.
Yeah.
So even with healthy, unhealthy, ill, not ill, that's all oneness. That's all unconditional love. It's only really the person that would want the effect of oneness, you could say, to bring about a healthy, happy body. That's just not sort of, that's just not the story. That is just a story, sort of. That's a hope of the person, you could say. The body just does itself, and it's perfect as it is, you could say. So there's no body in oneness, as in no sort of body in oneness.
No, it's no separation. Yeah.
No, the body, but the body is oneness. The body is whole and complete, just like the plant is, just like the door is. There's just wholeness. Everything is whole and complete. So you can't say anything's in it, but you can't say anything's out of it either. Yeah, there actually isn't anything called oneness. That, again, that's just another word.
Yeah. I did feel like it's at one point it was like sameness. But even that would be most probably a word.
Yeah. That word doesn't really make sense to me, but again, as long as if it's in the absolute sense, it really doesn't matter what you call it.
Yeah.
But I think what you were saying earlier in terms of perhaps like after an apparent awakening, there can seem to be perhaps a relaxation of the system, because it seems that many beliefs and ideas can just fall away instantly upon that sort of so-called awakening. The person it seems the person quite often comes back after something like that and then seeks it again. But you could say that after something like that, a lot of the kind of common behaviors just can drop like that, because it's just seen that it's not important. But then some new ones might begin, like seeking what just was seen. So
you don't feel like if you would talk, I mean, you don't talk, wait. But I do feel like I enjoy much more, obviously, talking nice things to people and to myself. Like, it is obvious. I mean, it's not like I just don't think harshness is I want to exclude harshness from oneness, I guess.
you could say that. And also I think things you could say like self-compassion, self-love, positive self-talk, these sorts of things, that they are all really to make the person feel better about themselves. So it again is just all centered around this person that doesn't exist. So it doesn't matter in that sense. It doesn't need to be sort of, harshness doesn't need to be included, and positivity doesn't need to be in a hierarchy sort of worshipped. It just isn't important for protecting anyone, because that's ultimately what the sort of self-compassion might be sort of hoping to do, you could say, is to make the person feel better about themselves. Oh, maybe to make the person, you could say as a story, feel loved, feel the love that they're craving, so they're sort of trying to give that to themselves. But again, that's just a loop, because it's just a closed loop with no one inside, sort of desperately trying to love themselves. But really that's keeping that system alive, because it's a constant effort to love, having to love oneself. It's like becoming more aware. You can always try, the person will always want to become more aware, or to love myself more. Like there's always work to do, and that's the effort of the person, you could say.
Don't you feel like I felt like it was a little bit, what's bizarre, because most people say like, oh, when they had the glimpse it was amazing, and I had glimpses where it was like wow, like where it was like woof, stunning. But when it was actually the very first time when it happened, and I was like gone for about a month, I would say approximately, I have no idea. It was more like ordinary, fluffy. It felt fluffy, like it felt like at ease, sort of, I guess. I'm just trying to recollect. The brain wants to get the memory, because obviously I was not there. And obviously I'm not now here, but right now I'm still obviously finding flaws where are no flaws. Obviously. But no, so the funny thing is, like it felt much more ordinary. So like, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah, sorry, go
and that
on.
was no lack because it was so ordinary, because there was no specialness. And I feel like obviously the person wants like a party every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to find like the master solution for oneness and party every day. But it's just like a really me. Like, why not? Why not? Why not? Because I felt like it was too boring. To be honest, if I look back, it's boring.
Well, yes. And that is a good description of the person, you could say. They want oneness and they want the party every day. They want this, or the apparent liberation, what they think is going to be the liberation, to be joy, to be ecstasy, to be, as you say, sort of on a high every day, like to be incredible, so positive. But this is everything. So it includes all of that, but all of the sadness, all of the confusion, the anger. So it is really, really, really gorgeously ordinary, so ordinary. But you could say the sort of the first glimpses, so to speak, can set up this idea that this is sort of when this is said that it's boundless love, and maybe the person then feels that love, that it's like this sort of ecstatic love all the time, and sort of these glimpses can create this false impression of what the person then thinks liberation to be. And you could say that perhaps maybe as that personal construct and energy can start to break down, it may just become more and more ordinary and more obvious that actually it's not sort of this high spiritual experience which the person might think it's going to be at first upon sort of an awakening. It is totally ordinary, and you could say as a story that the closer it gets, which doesn't happen, the more ordinary it becomes. It really just is so ordinary, but that is the beauty. And of course the person doesn't want it to be ordinary. The person doesn't want it to just be sitting in front of a laptop on a chair breathing, because to the person that is boring. The person wants this, well, really it wants the drama, because the person is drama. It's drama, and it sort of it hates that, but it loves it because it lives off it.
It is quite a hate love
It's
relationship.
a love-hate relationship.
Story of my life.
Well, the person is the addiction, you could say. So it's there's no one who is addicted to something. The person is the addiction of no one. It's this addictive loop, which is the loop of the person. So it desperately doesn't want to be there, but at the same time it can't live without itself.
True story. Yeah. Yeah. Wait, how long did it take for you? Like, not that it was like a time, I mean, till you fully had like an energetic thing. It's not about understanding, I get it, because, but it is energetic. So it is not, you can't just pretend and walk around like, oh, I'm not a person, because that would be complete bollocks,
Oh, absolutely. But, and also a constant effort, because you'd have to keep someone would have to keep remembering, I'm not someone. I mean, it just doesn't work.
And it also completely makes another veil on top of a veil. Like it's like a double, like it creates like a complete madness. But like I'm just in general curious, not that it matters, but like
it was this is the funny thing, it just all collapses, so it's difficult to sort of recall but you could say it was around, let's say 9 months, there was an awakening, and then you could say around 10 months later, there was just a collapse, a complete collapse. And of course, sort of lots of different glimpses and insights and revelations on the way. And you could say before the apparent awakening, which is sort of more of a significant shift, you could say there were insights and glimpses, definitely. But the funny thing is it's revealed in the end that none of that really happened, and none of it sort of mattered. So when it's happening, you could say it really feels like a path. It's sort of, there'll be this awakening and then this path to liberation. And in the story, you could describe it like that. But the funny thing is that it just always has been liberation, you could say, for no one.
Yeah.
And of course, after the awakening, Izzy came back, and that was you could say quite a painful time for the person, because that is how the setup works. I mean, it's death, so the person obviously doesn't want that, but it was constantly thought that this was what the person wanted, and actually it was then realized, you could say, that the constant wanting is really an avoidance. The looking for liberation is actually the person cleverly avoiding it, you could say, but no one's deliberately doing that.
Yeah, because even trying not to, it's still like,
oh, absolutely, that's the thing, trying not to, and trying to be open, trying to not care, trying to be free. It requires an effort, and that is the person.
Yeah,
which is nothing wrong with, of course.
No,
that's so.
Like, I don't even feel like, I feel like it's weird, like when I heard that at the beginning, obviously hearing it from like non-dual speakers, and I was like, what are they talking about? Like, who is that person that they like, who's the me? Because like for me personally, obviously I had no background in sort of spirituality in that term, right? So when it all like sort of was like upon me, I was like, that's so weird, because like, I don't know, I feel like even saying like, oh, that's a feeling of a person, I feel like it's literally just energetic time attachment.
You could say that, and actually it's funny because you could say
it's not really about the person, it's really just the time is equal story, right? I feel like approximately.
Absolutely. The person is really just a word that is used for an energetic contraction in the body of I am. So there is no person. The person is energy, but the person isn't a different energy to energy. There's just energy. I mean, you could say there's one energy, but there's not even one energy. But there's no sort of person energy and then oneness energy. There's just energy. So
you know what is coming up? Like, I feel suddenly like, oh, there is still some resentment is coming up towards the community of non-duality. And you know what is funny? Because it is the devil in a fucking, drag queen outfit. That's a nice wording that came up. But it is, I mean, they can't help it what they say, but it's just the bizarre. I mean, there's no they, but what comes out of their body is individualistic. It's still individualistic in the sense that every body sounds slightly different. And I feel like I have slight resentment towards those. And it's bizarre because, but it is really, I just don't, I feel like it's a bit of a, sometimes it feels bashing. Like even it, like at one point I was like, ugh, like I get the message itself. It's beautiful, but I just don't like bashing of like, and I feel like maybe because of words could bash anything, because I guess words are always will sound to the mind very dualistic. I don't know, but it just felt really not fair, because like even the person and even the story is beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it doesn't.
Even if it's not real, like
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah. But it doesn't feel fair to the person, obviously. It feels it's the ultimate fear. It's death for the person. It feels like a very real death. So the person actually doesn't want this message, and the person does not like this message, because the person, this is it's not saying anything, but it's apparently pointing to the fact that there is no person. So the person runs a mile upon hearing this as a story. So you could say that the person seems to think that they really want this, but
no.
yeah, no. And you can't really say that because the person's not even there, so there's no one resisting it like that. It's just an energy. But it's funny you say that, because I remember when I first heard this message, it felt there was sort of, you could say there was a lot more self-inquiry going on at that time, that sort of type of non-duality, so to speak. And this felt very devoid of the love that the person thought they were seeking, because it felt very dry, very nihilistic, very bland, very, well, ironically quite dead, which really is what this is about. So this message, you could say, could come across to the person as, I mean, it can just completely reject it because it is death. So it can reject it as being,
But
yeah.
don't you feel even like saying it's death? I mean, obviously that's just words that coming out over there. I just find it like, I mean, at the beginning, I was like, when I said it to other people and they get so disturbed by it, I was like, oh, holy shit, I can't say that, Like people get so disturbed by it. Like, obviously, I don't get disturbed by it, but just in general, I feel like even that is not even true.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Because nobody will die. Like, it sounds so dramatic. I feel
Yeah.
like just using the word, oh, the person will die or like fall away, it's just weird, because first there's no one already, right? So it's like, who's gonna die? Like, it's just the idea that it will collapse or whatever, maybe. Or no, but it's not even an idea, it's an energetic idea.
Exactly. And actually nothing collapses, not even an
Yeah.
idea or an energy. You could just say that it's seen
Do
by
you
no
feel
one.
speaking about death is sometimes prolonging the person to be afraid? Because I feel like I feel like most people just fighting against the fear in general. Like, yes, at the end, it's apparently in all the spiritual teachings, it's the fear of death, but it's actually fear of life,
Oh, absolutely. Death is
right?
life. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is no thing called death. So yeah, in that sense, the individual is, you could say, it's not really fearing death because there is no thing called death. So then the individual just is fear. It's just a loop of fear, you could say, of what
Yeah.
it thinks is death. So that's why you could say fear of death. But of course there is no death. So it's an illusory, well, it's a fear of something that isn't real.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it can be sometimes offensive to the mind itself, not to the I don't feel like it's offensive to the person or that it's death. I feel like it's just not a pretty word.
Well, it's, you could say there's a lot of condition. I mean, all the conditioning, you could say,
Yeah,
focused
it's
on.
like loaded word, right? Oh, death.
Oh,
It's just a
absolutely.
loaded word, which is so unnecessary. Why would you use loaded words? Like, I would just I mean, sometimes it is provocative, and don't get me wrong, like humility kicks in over here. Of course, like loaded words sometimes come up because maybe you don't know why, but sometimes we have to maybe trigger someone, we don't know it why, but because it's just what's apparently happening. But I just still like the resistance is still there. Like, hey, don't use words that are loaded.
Yeah, well, the thing is, this idea of something called death for the person is terribly scary. It's frightening. Because it is the ultimate unknown. You could say it's the only I mean, the person obviously doesn't know anything, but you could say it's the greatest unknown for the person because it's the absence of the person.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that the person projects this thing called death as being something in the future, namely at the end of my life. But the funny thing is that death is not in the future. This is death already, you could say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's no fear of something in the future called death, because
I
this
feel like
is already
I
death.
would say it's just life.
Death is life. So exactly, yeah. Yeah.
That's why I feel like this word is just, I mean, I'm sorry, oneness. But, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to be cute about words, because I do feel like sometimes words can, I mean, they do whatever they need to do, I guess. But yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
the words are not actually pointing to anything.
Yeah.
So it can sometimes be said that the words are pointing to something that is wordless. And you could say that, but at the same time, really, they're not pointing to anything.
No.
So
Because pointing would still imply that there has to be something that needs to change.
Or that there's something they're pointing to called nothing.
Yeah.
Or emptiness. The words are and aren't this.
Yeah. Oh, it's funny. Oh, wait, I'm curious. Have you ever heard about human design on your journey?
No.
No? Oh my God, it's fascinating. I just love it. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's really cute. It's a really cute system. To be fair, it has nothing to do with, I mean, there's a little bit of a philosophy behind, but I don't feel it. I kind of like got into it. I don't know. I'm just sharing. Maybe you're curious because it's really fun. It's just like a game, it's like really fun. And and of course it can be just create also too much mind chatter. Of course it can. But what else is there to do? We watch telly and whatever. So much stuff can create mind chatter. So, wherever the joy goes and whatever happens. But that happened in sort of my apparent story, the human design. And I was like fascinated by it. Because it's really just energetic that we on a body level sort of share some sort of wait. I'm trying to fit in, because it's not really, is it still a concept? I'm not sure if it's a concept, because it feels to me more liberal than really a concept, because it's more like energetic, and that's where there's no specialness, because it's just energy that maybe some person has more energy of those apparent characters that they don't have. So basically the body is always just whatever happens energetically runs through the system, and it has nothing to do with the story. The story will be that sort of apparent translation into the mental mind that will create a story out of it and attach itself to it and then claim it, and the claimer would be the me. But actually all the time it's just energy that floats through your body. And I remember I asked what's his name, Andreas, about his human. So he's like, yeah, I'm open to share my, like, it's, you just need your when you the time of birth and what time and stuff. So you just put it in, and it's like quantum physics and an astrology type of thing. But the funny thing is, like, it's not about, like, I went all deep into it and I noticed that it started to be too much of a projection and too much of a like mind chatter. But I do feel in generally, I mean, of course I project my own reality. And I love my reality. It's beautiful. And I feel like, why are not people experiencing my beautiful reality? It's stunning. Oh my God, that's the addiction. But it's amazing. What can I say? Like, I swear to God, people missing out on my beautiful, amazing reality. And I feel like that's where I'm like, join the club, motherfuckers. You know?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? The person creates this reality, and I mean, this, you could say the sort of apparent dilemma for the person is that it's not bad in that sense all the time, and some so-called people can do a pretty good job of creating a good reality, you could say. And actually, for lots of people, you could say, that sort of go around life with, you know, just getting along okay, apparently, but it's kind of all well and good until it's not. There's always this, as part of this loop, there's always the flip side, you could say, because the creation of the good comes with this constant pressure, this constant need for a reason or purpose, and that's why the person's wanting to do that. So you could say it's not all bad in that sense, and that's not what this is suggesting. But what this is just suggesting is that that loop is driven by this constant agitation to need to do something, even to need to feel good and have a good reality.
But obviously it's just what's happening, and the good reality is just what's happening, right?
Oh, of course.
Obviously there's already no one doing the good reality. I mean, even if it's just in the construct of our own imagination.
Yeah, and you could say it might just be that if that's seen, then that might continue. It may not, but it may not be so important for it to be a good reality.
Yeah, I feel like that was very that was a big difference, if it's like the attachment to this reality, or if it's like seeing that is made up, but it's cute.
Yeah, you could say that there's, you know, that good and bad things can happen within the story, but the freedom, you could say, is that it just doesn't matter whether it's good or bad or how.
Exactly.
So there's no, for the person having a good life, so to speak, is, you could say, what the person longs for is or not truly longs for, but that's what the person enjoys. They think that's fun and good, but it always comes with a catch or a loop, you could say, because there's fear underlying that, of how long is this going to last, or how can I make this last forever. So you could say when that collapses, then yeah, good things might continue to happen, bad things might start to happen, but it just doesn't matter, and that's the freedom.
What do you think about the word momentum?
Well,
I'm poking the bear. Oh, it's so much fun.
Sorry, say that again.
No, I'm joking. I said I'm poking the bear. It's so much fun. No, because I know, obviously, if there's no person, there's no holding back. So I love that, because like I feel like society is holding back a lot, like, you know.
Well, yes, I think,
but there's no society, but anyway, okay.
I think I know what you're saying. So in a sense, it's the absolute momentum in terms of sort of absolute flow, you could say. Because there's no one, the person, actually, the experience of the person is constantly going against the flow, constantly resisting what is. Even to want to know it, or to be present, or to get on top of the moment, or know where it's going. So momentum, flow, what is, I mean, it's not flowing anywhere. It's not, momentum kind of implies it's going somewhere, like a car on a journey or something. But no, in that sense, there's no one holding back. So it's totally free. Yeah.
And I do feel, I mean, do you personally not feel like, would you say that freedom is still very much, because it's unconditional love, but not just mentally unconditional love, but it's still don't want to bring the apparent evolution in, but the apparent evolution, I am bringing it in. Welcome to the party, people. Here is apparent evolution. But yeah, so so I do feel like there's always beneficial stuff. Like I just feel like it's just maybe not spoken about enough. Is it because there would be some clinginess to it and grabbing onto it and then expectation? But because truly, like truly it's all beautiful, like, and then I do feel like it gets better, not better and better, but like I feel like deeper. It does get deeper. It does get, I don't know, what do you think?
What I'm not sure I quite understand. What do you, when you say
Life, I
evolution?
feel like not life itself, but like the richness of the feeling for the beauty gets deeper. No? Because I just feel like it's not as blend as it's sort of, I don't know, just not as,
Well, no, because there isn't really a path in that sense. This is the end of the path, the apparent path. So there's no it doesn't get more beautiful or more unconditionally love, because that's whole and complete. So it's already whole and complete. It can't become less or more. That's the perfection, you could say, is that it's
yeah.
already perfect. So I see what you're saying in terms of, does the, I mean,
feel like the preference I feel like the body's preferences get much more illuminated, and that's, I feel, creates a more richness in even in that unconditioned.
you could say, as sort of as a story, that after the apparent liberation, there can be a softening of the lots of the structures of the system, the body, that were built up when it was believed that there was someone inside who needed to be protected. So you could say that they may slowly soften and fall off, and in that sense the organism might slowly become less neurotic. And you could say that then, well, I can't even then say then it would be more loving and more free, because it's already free even with the neuroses. So it just is whole and complete as it is. And as you say, I mean, to say sort of preferences would become more clear doesn't really make sense, because that almost implies that there has to be someone who they become more clear to. So the whole idea of sort of choices and decisions and preferences being clear, it just completely collapses, because the need for clarity, that is the complete setup of the person. So there's no one here who makes decisions and is clear on the decision that's being made. No, decisions are just made, choices are made. There's no one who has to be clear or who possibly could be clear.
I'm not sure if it's clarity that like just let's, like, just as example, just for the curiosity's sake, let's say if you would before go to the beach once in a while, like let's say the beach is your favorite place, and before, because you felt like, oh, you need to go and do this and do that, like when you had like the story to fulfill other people's need and whatever, right? Like even that was still, of course, perfection, because that was perfect for that expression that needed. But still, like I feel, I don't know, it feels like when the system is more free without the constant concepts in the mind, how it has to be, I feel like the individual expression of the
I see what you're
body
saying. Yeah, I see what you're
Like,
saying.
for example, if you like a certain food that before you thought, oh, I have to restrict myself or whatever, suddenly like, no, you know, like,
Yeah,
or the beach or whatever.
I
What do you
completely
think? Do you feel
see.
like you living more your preferences now than before, for example?
Well,
In the
I'm
story, in the
But you
story.
but you
Yeah.
could
In
say that the character has the
yes.
freedom to fully express itself. Yes, you could say
Yeah.
that. But no one's doing that, obviously. And yeah, so you could say it's the end of doubt in that sense. There's no one in there sort of thinking, should I go to the beach or should I go to the shops? Which is going to be better? Because for the person, there's this there has to be this agenda. So which is going to fulfill me more, which is going to give me the better experience, which is going to be more productive. There's the constant sort of there has to be a reason. Why am I going to the shops over the beach or the beach over the shops? The choice has to have a reason, an answer. So yeah, you could just say that collapses and the character just expresses themselves freely. Yes, yeah, with no doubt. But there's also no one benefiting from that. So there's no one here
No, no, no. Yeah.
sort of like, oh, it's great that I don't have doubt. There just isn't doubt.
Yeah.
It's totally normal.
Yeah. This, you see, that's why for me personally, the word sameness came up, but you said you wouldn't, for example, call it sameness.
Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by sameness.
I mean, like the same way that people say unconditional love, that everything is unconditional love, that I mean, that everything is uh,
You
a
could say
free
everything's the
flow,
same in terms of in sort of this is absolute
free flow.
equanimity.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to the beach isn't better than going to the shops, even if there may
Mm.
be a preference for the beach over the shops. It's not better in that sense.
No, it's not more beneficial. Yeah, but
So I
yeah,
see what you mean in terms of sameness, like everything's the same in everything is equal in that sense. Nothing is more important, nothing's less important.
yeah,
Nothing more special, less special, more
yeah,
spiritual, less spiritual. And that's the freedom, because for the
yeah,
person, everything's on a hierarchy,
yeah,
including so-called others. So there's no one to look up to and there's no one to look down on.
yeah,
There's no
yeah.
authority to sort of
Yeah, that I feel like in the apparent story, it's like first you're looking for the guru, then you become your own guru, and then you shoot your guru. You know, that's how I felt it. I'm like, no, don't shoot the good one, no. I mean, it's the ultimate sort of humility at the end of the day,
Oh,
because
totally.
it's just yeah. I do feel like it's more preference appears to be more life preserving than life destroying, but maybe that could be just a character's preference in general, because there maybe could be a character that is evil Knievel and it's perfection being evil Knievel, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean. And you could say though, as a story, the so-called characters maybe with those behaviors, you could say, could come out of a need of protection of the person. So the motivation for a lot of so-called
Yeah,
destructive behaviors, you could say, I mean, there just wouldn't be motivation to be destructive or to because that comes out immediately of a me and a them to do something too. So, but of course it could still happen, and it doesn't matter, it's the same in that sense.
mm.
But it doesn't seem natural, you could say. It seems like it requires an effort to um a motivation to do that sort of action. But this isn't saying that anger and things like that can't arise. Of course, that is natural. I mean, everything's natural. So even so-called destructive behaviors are natural. But I guess what I'm saying is that when the person is there's no longer anything to protect, the motivation for lots of those things might just fall away. No one knows.
Yeah, it's really random.
Oh, totally chaotic. Yeah.
It does feel to me like that in the apparent story, it almost has to be experienced to let go of. But maybe that's just my own interpretation, personal, individualistic interpretation, because clearly, you know, clearly when I fell away the first time, I had no idea. So, so even that goes into the bin.
Oh, absolutely. It's totally unexpected. And actually well, unexpected implies that something would even happen, but the person wanting to know when it happens, or wanting to be there when
Yeah.
it dies or it's let go of, is the person wanting the control and keeping itself alive.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it's so true.
Which is why actually the sort of, as you say, the sort of apparent awakening and then the adding of the concepts, that just adds more to the person, you could say, more seeking. It adds something to seek that the person didn't even know was a thing in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
It's
just
funny.
shows
Yeah.
how it creates things to seek, because that's
Yeah.
just how the setup works.
It's like anything will be converted into a concept for self-preservation. It's just
Exactly.
because it's addicted to time. I feel like it's not addicted to itself, it's addicted to time. But time is not real. So it's constant, just like, I feel like, I mean, because it feels so, I don't know, but I do feel like sometimes time can also be enriching by, you know, holding certain information that you can use in the now. There's no such thing in the now, but whatever comes up.
Well, the person isn't actually addicted to time. You could say the person is time.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, there's no one who's addicted to time and space and needs to get rid of that. The person is the sense of time and space.
yeah, true. Yeah.
So yeah, there's no, that sort of implies there's a separate person and a separate thing called time. Again, it's just an energy of there being somewhere to go or something to get.
Yeah. I heard your conversation with your friend, and I thought I was laughing about, I mean, the whole thing was just so funny, obviously. And I was like, that's so cute when she said about the surrender, right? And then you're like, oh, you could say it's like a constant, or like it's just surrender, basically. It's and it does feel like that, to be honest, to me. Like I can resonate with that, I would say, without trying to grab on, because how can you grab up to constant surrender? Total surrender, you can't try. But it does feel to me like a total surrender of everything.
Oh
And
yeah, it's the absolute surrender that no one can do.
yeah,
It already is the case. So it's total poverty. There's
yeah,
absolutely nothing, not even a person who has nothing. There is no person, so there's just nothing. So it's free fall, you could say. It's constantly, well, just not even constantly. It's just this. So yeah, absolute surrender, but no one who can surrender.
no, 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 no,
And
because
that
it's
would
an
be the hope of the person, that I can surrender, but there's always then more surrendering that needs to be done, more habits that need to be dropped, more beliefs that need to be seen through, more conditioning that needs to relax. It's a constant effort.
But you see, I feel like even that constant effort, what else would the people do? They would just be bored shitless. So I feel like even that is beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like even any type of therapy, like don't want to like project upon you whatever I heard before, because what I heard before is just right now and coming up in my mind. I'm I'm always like, yay, funny story up there. But like I feel like it's very enriching. If not, oh my God,
Oh, it's
like
gorgeous. You could say
yeah,
the stories are beautiful. Yes, yeah.
yeah.
They
And I
don't
feel like
lead
even
anywhere.
even therapy, or like in a sense, like even meditation and therapy, whatever was happening, yes, it was not getting you anywhere closer, but why not? Like I feel like there's a lot of times if I hear it, I get a little bit like, like, and that's where I'm like, why not? Like everything is beautiful. Like
Oh, of course. Yeah. And you could say
why it
that,
won't appear,
yeah,
right?
and that's funny because you could say that that happened here where it was seen that there was no one, but there was still a person appearing, you could say, or thinking there was a person. And you could say there was frustration then with, so-called others claiming to be people and wanting to sort of, well, why are you doing that? There's no one there. There's no point to that. But that is very much still coming from this person, because it's then still assuming this other. And so now there's no one here that sort of there's nothing to prove in that sense. You could say that in that period, apparently before, there would be someone wanting to prove to someone else that there is no one, and tell them what I know, and tell them that there's no point to therapy and it doesn't lead anywhere. But there's just no need to prove that anymore, because there is no other. So I'm not trying to prove to you, so to speak, that there is no one, because I'm not talking to anyone. It's like this already.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
therapy can happen, meditation can happen. It's all gorgeous. It just doesn't lead anywhere. And there's no one needing to say, oh, it doesn't lead anywhere.
Mm.
That would be coming from a sort of need to prove something, or prove that I am awakened or I am enlightened,
Mm.
which again is sort of this need for specialness,
Mm.
which is
Yeah.
fine. That's fine too.
Yeah. Wait, do you still living at your parents? What do they think?
Well, it doesn't really come up, you could say. And that's the funny thing as well, is that again, there's nothing to discuss. So there's no one here sort of saying, oh, hey, look what happened to me, to prove to my parents. You could say that my parents are this. So
Yeah.
so there's
Yeah.
nothing to prove or to tell them what's happened to me. You could say that there can be an openness to this with so-called others, or there may not be. So if it comes up in conversation, you could say, then there's just it's not necessary for anyone to speak about it. But if it comes up, it comes up. I'm not sort of keeping it a secret in that sense, because there's nothing.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. Like it's weird because it's just whatever happens, and in certain circles or certain environments, even if there is no such thing. But I mean, like, when multiple people are or bodies are involved, um, it's just even weird to say I hate if people say, oh, there's nobody. That this is bullshit as well, because even that would be like denial of everything. You know what I mean? Because everything is nothing, and like even saying it, like, there are no people or whatever.
Well,
Yes,
exactly.
clearly
Yeah.
there's a body that looks like my mom, or you know what I mean?
Well, this is the thing. Even saying there's no one is implying that there's like someone that's no one.
Yeah,
So there's just no, it's
I
sort
feel
of
like
like,
it's spontaneity happening. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
the
if it doesn't come up as a subject, then it's just not happening.
oh,
But
well, there isn't a message at all.
yeah.
There is no message. So the speaking of there being no one really only comes out of a response to something saying, well, there's someone, I'm here. So actually there's no message saying there's no one. That just comes out of a response to this apparent person which doesn't exist. So yeah, it's totally normal. It's totally normal going to the shops, going on a walk, seeing friends. But you know, you don't need to say to your friends, oh, well, there's no one there. Like
Okay, let's be honest, there was a phase. Did you have the phase as well?
well, probably, yes. Yeah, you could say that.
I think it's so hilarious.
But yes, exactly. That comes out of this want to prove or to be special, you could say. Like, I know there's no one.
Yeah.
But no, there's no one that knows there's no one, because it's just not a thing. So there isn't a thing called a person, but there isn't a thing called a no person. It's totally normal, totally normal.
Yeah, I swear to God, it's like one mind. Zap in or zap out. It's you know, oh, it's funny. Hmm. Oh wait, would you like to see Dubai? Wait, should I turn around the camera? Wait, have you been to Dubai before?
Oh, do you live in Dubai?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
look how cute. It's the beach,
Oh, lovely.
and
Oh,
that's the palm there, but you can't really see that great. But yeah.
yeah.
Oh wait, how do I turn around the
It
camera?
looks nice and hot.
Yeah, and it's winter now, so it's perfect. It's
Oh,
just
wow.
perfect. It's just like sort of 25 degrees, so it's stunning. And obviously in the summer it gets like much hotter. But yeah. I do feel like oh yes, that's a question. Sorry, am I bothering you?
Well, I will need to go in 5 minutes or so. So
Wait,
yeah.
are we talking already 1.5 hours?
Yeah, it is 12:30, yeah.
Oh, holy moly, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay, but I will need to go in 5 minutes, so
Oh shit. So maybe just a question, I don't know, we'll see. But just coming up, or is it gone again? I'm not sure. Yeah. Do you feel like friends related, like not about the subject, non-duality or whatever? Obviously, you can talk about non-duality now with the YouTube channel or whatever, because people want some sort of response. And why not give it to them, right? And it's beautiful. It's like very enriching. And it's very pure, obviously. It's like I can not only that I can feel the resonance of purity, but like, it's just beautiful. And talking to yourself is beautiful. Nothing better than that. Come on, let's be honest. um, but do you feel like you have with some friends just more resonance than with others, like in the sense, or how would you interpret it?
um
Not that it will give you anything more. I'm not talking now about the person and the claimer, but like preference to certain bodies.
um well, in that sense, sort of, there's no one here controlling or choosing who to be friends with. So you could just say Izzy has preferences for certain characters. So with maybe
Yeah.
similar interests or similar personalities, but that's not sort of a conscious choice. But in terms of this, you could say that there can be more of an openness to life, you could just put it.
Yeah.
more of a, and then maybe other characters with less, but that doesn't sort of make me choose, you know, I want to be friends with someone who's more relaxed or less relaxed. Like, it's totally normal. It's just friends are friends. There's no sort of, I have to have, well, I guess that question sort of would come from me wanting to be friends with other no-me's or other people who have fallen away, or and not want to be friends with people who still are a me. But it doesn't
I
seem.
just don't feel like, I mean, this non-duality community and the me and the person, it's just weird because to me it makes no sense. It's either more contraction or less contraction. That's how
Yeah.
I personally feel it. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you in a sense, but I just felt like it was similar thought, just different language.
Oh, exactly. So there is, as you say, there's no person and no person. So you could just say there could be a preference for more relaxed characters, but
Yes, yes.
or there might be a preference like to be around others who are more relaxed, or it might be a preference to be around people who like to plan a lot and like to be in control. Like, it doesn't matter, exactly as you say. It's just perhaps more contraction, less contraction. But really, there isn't a sort of in terms of saying more contraction, less contraction, that could just be like a character thing, you could say. But when I speak about contraction, this isn't about there being more or less contraction. The contraction is absolute, you could say. So it's either there or it's not. So there's no one here that has less contraction. There just is no contraction. It's complete boundlessness. So there either is a contraction in the body or there isn't. So it's not more or less in that sense. But I see what you're saying in terms of preferences for characters with maybe more neuroses or less neuroses. But that's, yeah.
Okay, so because you see, I did feel like it's interesting that you say that about that there's either a full contraction or none, because I personally felt
Yeah.
it on my body in a different way.
Well, and you could say after an apparent awakening, the sense of a contraction may relax along with many behaviors and beliefs. But at the end of the day, a contraction is a contraction. So whether it feels stronger or weaker, it's still there. And what this is suggesting is that can just explode. So as I said, there's no less contraction here. There's just no contraction.
Yeah.
So it may feel
Yeah.
beneficial that the contraction is less, and that's fine, but that's sort of not what this is saying.
No, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And I do feel like even the question of friends, I mean, it would be still a story because obviously, because it would be like, yay, I prefer this character, and it's just what's happening anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It
It
doesn't
would
matter.
be like, an interpretation, but even the interpretation is still sameness. Equilibrium, whatever it is.
Yes, and for the person, the contraction, or maybe not as strong contraction, can feel like it's getting closer. But
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
oh
The
no, that's
internet.
okay. I just said for the person having less contraction, or maybe a contraction soften or be less strong, can feel like they're getting closer, maybe. But really, this is unpredictable, you could say. So there's
Because it's non-linear. Yeah, I discovered
exactly
that it was not
exactly.
non-linear at all.
The contraction
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily, I mean, it may, but it doesn't have to become less and less and less and then go. It could be really strong, so to say, and then just explode.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's already boundlessness. That's the thing. There is no contraction, but
Yeah. No, you're right. Like remembering that actually even the linear thinking is completely elusive because there's no real time, and then the linear thinking would be just a story on top. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but it is stunning. It is beautiful. Oh, it was so nice talking to you. I was like, you have to go.
Yes, no, I do. But no, it's been lovely to chat. Thank you for reaching out.
It's you in England or in Ireland?
No, I live in England. Yeah.
England. Okay, nice to meet you.
And you?
Don't you think, you see how funny, because like without certain communities, they wouldn't be suddenly a pop-up on YouTube, apparently. I don't think I wouldn't like walk down the street and meet you in Dubai here.
Oh, maybe, I doubt that.
Not. But you're welcome to visit anytime.
Oh.
Yes, it's nice. It's nice. It's nice and sunny.
Oh,
I'm
well,
sure
enjoy.
now it's quite gray over there where you are.
Actually, today is one of the first sunny days we've had for a week, so I'm gonna go on a walk and enjoy that, I think.
Lovely, do that, yeah, because it's so rare.
Exactly.
Oh, lovely.
Okay,
Enjoy your time.
And you, thank you.
Yes, maybe we hear from each other again, or maybe not, who knows.
Yeah.
All the best.
Yeah, no, I absolutely feel free to message. That would be nice.
Yeah. And have so much fun with your YouTube channel. Like, all the best. Not that that will give you anything, but like, I mean, for sure it's fun. Sometimes it's just really fun. Yeah. So maybe sometimes not. Oh my God, you had a few grumpy ones. I was peeing myself and I was like, I can't take it. It's hilarious. But you see, it's divine entertainment. It's pure entertainment. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And obviously you're not doing anything, but it's so weird to say like, yeah, great job, But yeah. Lovely. Have fun with your YouTube.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Take
Speak to you
care.
soon. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.